Good evening and welcome to 𝗤𝗏𝗡. 𝗤𝗏𝗡 में आप सबका स्वागत है. Today we are going to analyze China's two sessions, and we're going to do this analysis along with General Rajiv Narayanan. Rajiv, good evening and welcome to 𝗤𝗏𝗡. And after a long time, we are getting together. I won't say long time, but on China.
On China.
On China.
Always a pleasure to be on your show and peel the, I would say, the layers of secrecy around China.
China. I agree with you completely. Yeah, for all viewers, I want to tell you, China is going through its two sessions. Annually, something called two sessions happens. It's happening right now as we speak. Now, people won't know what is two sessions all about. Let me explain to you. Two sessions means the first session is a meeting of the Communist Party, Consultative Committee, CPCC. That's what they say. It's a one-day affair where everyone is brought together. It's not only the parliament and all that, but more people are brought together. Wahan show hota hai. Public figures are also brought, and they give some talk out, all that, and end of story. The second thing is the second session is the meeting of the NPC, or the National People's Congress. Now, what is National People's Congress and what this is all about? And this whole thing, it runs for 1 week. The important parts of this NPC first is that, in the beginning, the Prime Minister gives out a work report of what has happened earlier and then what is to happen later. Okay. And then he's supposed to holds a press conference. But from last year, that press conference has been sidelined. Xi Jinping has not allowed Li Qiang to talk about this. Okay. And this year, apart from this work report, I'll just give you the highlights of the work report. A few funny things have happened. Let me put it the other way around. Normally, this whole thing runs for a week. At the end of the week, Xi Jinping comes and gives out his viewpoint. But in this session, a couple of funny things have happened, like I said. Wang Yi, the foreign minister, has given a press conference about the global state of affairs, all that, which is absolutely out of character. It is acknowledgement of the fact that the globe is going through Trumponomics, or the Trump world order. So, and China is feeling the heat of that. And it's uncertain world for China. The second unusual thing which has happened this year is Xi Jinping, who is supposed to give his talk at the end, after the 7th day, 8th day, and he comes, like Lord and Manner, and gives out his views. This time, before the two sessions started, his views were aired in a journal called 𝗥𝗙𝗏. What is 𝗥𝗙𝗏? 𝗥𝗙𝗏 is the internal, paper or the media paper of the Communist Party. And it is only limited circulation. Only people who can get hold of it are allowed access to it. The second thing is, on the second day itself of two sessions, he started interacting with delegations, which came from Jiangsu and all that. And he started talking to them about his viewpoints. So his viewpoints were almost put in place along with Li Qiang's annual work report, and followed immediately by Wang Yi's interaction with the press on external affairs. It makes interesting reading. And mind you, all this is going on when Mr. Trump is trying to end the Russia-Ukraine war. He's forcing Ukraine and Russia to come to terms. He is in the process. There is a danger of Russia-China relationship getting degraded. He's also done an outreach to Iran. This is today, as late as today. Okay, and if that outreach succeeds even partially, you're looking at China being completely out of the Middle East and West Asia. It can take its oil and keep going. That's about all. No influence, and it puts the China, Russia, Iran, North Korea axis, which is a lot of people are talking of, at complete risk. A lot of things are happening, right? And of course, internally, we all know China is a problem. I'm sorry, I'm giving you a longish thing and keeping Rajiv away from it, but I thought before he gives his analysis and his views, you should understand the fundamental basics. Rajiv, I'll spend 2-3 more minutes. I want to put out the basic work report which Li Chang gave to everyone, so that the figures are there and everyone understands the figures. Look at this. In the PM's annual work report, this is the major issues. GDP growth is targeted at 5%. Military budget has risen by 7.2%. Public security spending also by 7.2%. They have outlined some measures to stabilize the real estate market. And we'll see how good or bad this is. General Rajiv will explain. They're lowering interest rates for home buyers by 0.1%. Mind you, 0.1% might seem small, but they have this is the 5th or 6th rate cut which they have done. They want to deepen reforms, remove market barriers, and boost private sector growth. And this is again funny because Xi Jinping broke the private sector completely in 2021. Now he's trying to rebuild it up, but with a lot of caveats. Then he, of course, strengthened macroeconomic regulation to support recovery. Increase student assistance, raise pension payments and subsidies to 11 million Chinese in need. But this, as is being assessed, is just a drop in the ocean. Then they've spoken in the annual work report of external uncertainties and growing economic pressures from the US. And then, of course, he says world is undergoing accelerated changes unseen in a century. I'll invite now General Rajiv Narayanan to give his views out on the whole story, and then I'll come back in the end, and I'll actually give you what Xi Jinping has said in 𝗟𝗌, certain other parameters, so that then we have a matrix to assess where China is heading. With this, Rajiv, all yours. Please take on.
So the first is, I will take the last point which you gave. This Xi Jinping's views in 𝗟𝗡, which has been published this year before the 2 sessions. That is actually a repeat of the speech that he gave in November 2023.
Yeah, now that you said it, these are the points. People can keep reading it and you can copy it. Go ahead.
The basic issue is that this was in November 2023. In a way, what the present report that Li Qiang has given and what he has spoken about, what he is going to do in the future, essentially means more of yesterday. He has not changed his views. We all know the crashing economy, and this he told in 2023 is not changing. My assessment is there are 8 major points. I'll
we'll talk about
bring it down to 8 key takeaways from the what Li Qiang has said they will do. First and foremost, he said is the state is going to expand fiscal spending, and one he's talking of the same thing, treasury bonds. Now he's talking of ultra long treasury bonds, both center and state. State, if you remember during our discussion on this was also known as local government financial vehicles, LGFVs, with the same bonds. The question comes up, who's going to buy? Who has the money? How will you buy? And is this the way you're trying to cozy up to the private sector? But when he says fiscal spending, I link it to the last point about jobs and combine the two and explain where the problem is going to lie. Now he says that foreign investment, or what we call FDI, is going to be encouraged. Who will come? Who has the money and who will come to invest in China, which is failing? And they continue to follow that, because the essence of the talk in 2023 was not to follow the Western model and to have the economic model with Chinese characteristics. Now, the economic model with Chinese characteristics has collapsed. Everything has collapsed, but you're still following the same thing. If somebody by mistake comes in for FDI, are you going to force him to buy that ultra long security bonds? How are you going to manage? It's one thing to say, it's another thing to get the money. The banks themselves are having a very big issue on liquidity. They hold a lot of non-performing assets, NPAs. And the point third is what General Shankar had mentioned about private enterprises. 21-22, you just destroyed them. Jack Ma was everywhere, going to the vegetable shop, teaching in a school. And now you want them to say that you will support them. Support them with what? You have squeezed all the money out of them. You call it a talk of legitimate rights to be protected. Now, who decides what is legitimate and what are their rights? That has already been laid down by Xi Jinping. Are you going to squeeze them further and say, now take your personal money and start buying these bonds? He will need these bonds for the spending. That is why the bonds are being done. When he says expand fiscal spending, these bonds he wants people to buy to have money to do what? I'll come a little while later. Now he talks of future industries, high-tech, IoT, AI, but there's no mention of quantum. That's surprising. You were talking of quantum cloud and quantum satellite, and I've made my quantum computer, but suddenly in high-tech, he's not talking of quantum. Hong Kong, Macau, special attention, and it looks as if they want to use it as a front to circumvent various sanctions that Trump might bring in. But they forget that Trump is already mulling over looking at both Hong Kong and Macau as PRC and removing all the special benefits that they get. Now, if that happens, then I wonder what will happen to Hong Kong and Macau. And Hong Kong, he is openly saying that they will permit the local people to run it whichever way they want to. You burnt it to ground and did everything. Hong Kong used to be the best performing province. You destroyed that province. And why am I saying as a front? Because he's now telling the provinces which have done well to start investing there and start making there, which is very clear that he wants to use it as a front to cover up for sanctions.
Yeah, mind I want to add one point. You made a very important thing, that he wants provinces which are doing well to invest and go ahead. This also breaks his common prosperity rule that whole China should grow. Now he's left the weak China behind, weaker provinces behind. Now he just is focusing on the stronger provinces so that they can meet GDP targets. So to that extent, the disparity between the provinces and within China is likely to grow.
And right? In his talks, Xi Jinping talks of Jiangsu province.
Yeah,
and he addressed them separately, which is amazing. This has never happened before. And wanting them to go there. Increase in defense and internal security. Mao said, power comes from the barrel of the gun. And obviously, the first task of the PLA is to protect the CPC and ensure continued control of PRC by CPC. And of course, this will also be looked upon as a threat in being for the neighborhood and the extended neighborhood. But while we are at the internal security this December, he has sacked Wang Chuning, General Wang Chuning, who was the head of the PAP, the most important arm of the internal security, apart from MSS, which is INT. The power comes from PAP and the head has been sacked. And I was still searching before this to find out who has been made the head. There's no name which has come as yet. So they are worried because we have been talking about the internal instabilities that are there. There was a lot of chatter, maybe wings may be clipped or something may happen. Let us see the outcomes in the coming months, what happens to Xi Jinping, because he hasn't spoken. Normally he speaks at the end. He's not spoken. He's been hosting people. So are his wings being clipped that you're not important? Like what 𝗥𝗙𝗏 also gave was a speech he gave 2 years ago, which was published before the about a month or so before the 2 sessions, and that is his thought. So it's not so easy. And the second last point they had given was jobs and consumption, and this is where I will link with expanded fiscal spending. What used to be done even during Hu Jintao time, it began slowly around 2003 and picked up steam after that Lehman Brothers problem. Ghost cities came out, infrastructure leading to nowhere. And people are now talking of Jiangnan, which is just outside Beijing. And so is he going to do fiscal spending and improve his GDP, continue the GDP to 4 or 5% by spending more? When you spend more, you create an artificial demand for cement and your steel and tarmac, wood, you name it, wires, everything. I'll highlight why I say artificial. So you generate a demand, and since the demand is there, people will be employed to be given the jobs. So you say, I've created jobs. He's targeting 12 million jobs. Good luck to him. And since he has the money, he hopes that they will go and buy something, so the consumption percentages will increase. But at the end result would be what? Would he achieve anything? The whole collapse took place because of this. And I'm surprised here, there is no mention of BRI anywhere. It has been enshrined in their constitution since 2018 that is meant for the economic growth of China. And here you're struggling for your economic growth. There's no mention of BRI. I list out a few of these ghost cities which have come up. The Chenggong district outside Kunming, that is, by the way, the largest ghost city in Asia. Massive. Nobody lives there. Lanchao new area. They leveled mountains to create this. Lanchao, Sichuan area is in a mountainous area. They leveled the mountains. There's no water. They didn't realize. जो अपना मोहम्मद बिन तुगलक ने किया था, getting people to Daulatabad and back. There's no water. Then Nanhui, they made a new city. They began making it in 2003, finally completed in 2020. Dantu in Xinjiang. Ordos is one of the most famous Kangbash new area in the Nei Mongolia area. Yingkou, Liaoning, Yujipu financial district in Tianjin, they made it exactly like Manhattan. They had a fad then to make cities representing these big foreign metropolitan areas. Like there is one Manhattan, then you had a Tianducheng in Hangzhou, which was made like Paris, all with Eiffel Tower and everything, and an artificial river sort of a thing to show it like the Senna River. That's empty. And they called it the Thames Town. This is in outside Shanghai of all the places. They had made another one, Pudong. Initially it was empty, but the financial district and other things shifted there, so Pudong has been occupied. But the Thames Town It's vacant. Then you have the Tianducheng, that I have done. The new one which has come, Shongan, new area. It has been there since 2017, but now it is coming into prominence. Yeah, you've done that.
Yeah, I've done that.
Then Yingkou, Liaoning, and Jingjiang city. This is between Beijing and Tianjin. And this is not including the suburbs where they've created blocks which are empty. And close to 65 million apartments unsold, and almost the same, if not more, sold but unoccupied. And almost close to it, just structures, empty structures. Now just imagine the amount of money that has been spent into this with no returns. The unfinished, the bullet trains with no passengers and roads going nowhere. So what is he going to achieve now by going back to doing the same thing? The macroeconomics, he talks of redoing it, but it is, like I said, it is more of yesterday. What they did post the 2008 Lehman Brothers scam, they're doing the same thing again. It's their own scam. The reality sector has collapsed. You want money, you're issuing bonds. Who will buy the bonds?
Yeah,
and finally,
now that you mentioned about the bonds, I want to highlight one issue. A very interesting thing. You asked this question twice. Who will buy the bonds? No one from outside is going to buy the bonds.
No.
And these bonds, will be sold to the people. Ultimately, it will be sold to the people. People will buy it because whatever people have money, they're lying in the banks or whatever, they're not spending. So people will buy the bonds. Once people will buy the bonds, China will spend the people's money. And the bond market in China today is at its lowest in the past 20-30 years. So people will lose money. People will become poorer. As people will become poorer, their consumption will go down. As simple as that. This is the macroeconomics of the 2 sessions.
Correct. He has not done anything different. And likewise, that's why I highlighted that a 2023 speech verbatim, you are publishing it now, tells you that you have not learnt anything in those 2 years. Not learnt anything, and you're doing exactly this. And you're talking of compatriots and international friends. Hello, who's your international friend left? Is there anyone left whom you can call, who can contribute towards you? And who are your compatriots? Compatriots he's talking in Taiwan and neighboring areas. They are traitors. You will look on them as traitors if he is going to work for you. And quite a lot of them have been exposed. So which compatriot and which international friend he's talking about, he didn't highlight very much in that. So as I see it, it's going to be a very, very, very rough ride for the people of China. Like General Shankar mentioned, one thing which had come, compulsory deposit scheme in the 70s, that is what is going to be the compulsory bond scheme. You have money, you buy the bond. You can't do anything, because even today, if he's going to take out, like I was reading reports and hearing on X and other places where people managed to send out the videos, they were crying that anything over 1,000 yuan, if he has to take it out, he has to sign a form. From where did he get this money, and why does he want it, and how does he plan to use the money? And the man says, hello, this is my money. This is not the bank. Bank doesn't give me money. This is my money. Why are you interested in what am I going to do? I might buy a pig, or I might blow it up in a studio, or wherever I go to in a pub. How does it concern you? No, this money is what is going to be sponged off. And I wonder how much of liquidity at the end of the day they will have when none of the infrastructure is giving him anything. And this, I feel, is a tacit agreement that BRI model has failed to give him anything. There's no mention on these issues at all, that how BRI will help and how they should further the BRI and what all they have to do, neither last year nor this year. has seen any mention of how BRI is going to take them forward. And nor has Xi Jinping's speech mentioned anything about that. So what kind of increased spending are they going to do? One waits to see, because how much of bond money will they still be able to get, and how they are going to work out. Because the treasury bond thing is becoming passe, because at the end of, let us say the long term is 10 years, they say, at the end of 10 years, what do?
You still have to repay back.
How do you repay? How do you repay? Or you will force them to say that it will get turned over for the same.
Rolled over.
You roll it over. Will people agree? Will they be happy with this kind of talk that is going on? So I don't think it's going to be easy ride for anyone in China today, whether it be the Communist Party, whether it be the people. And they must be looking at the PAP and the PLA very closely, that who will actually bell the cat and start the process of purging Xi Jinping if they would. Where does this go? Because in this session, Xi Jinping has been missing in action.
Yeah, that's what I said. Everyone else has come. Even the foreign minister has come and held a press conference.
Yes. He has been missing in action.
And the economic, there was an economic conference by the head of one of their economic guys. I'm forgetting his name. So Xi Jinping has not spoken. Everyone else is speaking.
So is there a merit in what the reports were earlier coming, that he has had another stroke heart attack, that he is not in a position that he comes in front of these many people, it may get too heavy for him? That's why the lighter load of discussing with some delegates and sitting and talking has been given to him. Otherwise, the session is his. The session is of the General Secretary. Yes, Li Qiang presents it. Thereafter, he gives his thought, his views at the end. That's what people look up to. That what is the boss going to tell at the end of this session? And that was missing. So I don't think this session has given anything what the people may have been yearning for. So it remains to be seen how it progresses. It's all easy to say you'll you'll give the bonds. You may like to force the people, but they should not forget that I think in Henan province, they had to get their armored personnel carriers to protect the bank when the people mobbed there to take the money out. So will you see something like that? How will it happen? Considering that most of the people in PLA, the CMC and the theatre commanders are the ones handpicked by Chang Yuzhia, and his own handpicked person in the PAP, Wang Chuning, has been purged, and no one has been placed there. So there is some undercurrent going on, quite deep. One had expected something here. Is the Communist Party worried that if they did something, then the upheaval amongst the people would be very heavy, and they're happy with clipping Xi Jinping's wings like this and letting him be there? But then you're going nowhere with this kind of points in your economic policy. You're going nowhere. You extra spending with no returns, you're going to destroy your economy further. FDI, who will come for FDI? Private enterprise, you destroyed it. Now how are you going to recover it? Future industries you're talking, that is what is being targeted by Trump. The Hong Kong, Macau, like I said, Trump is already mulling considering Hong Kong and Macau as part of PRC. So there will be no special one. So even if you if their Jiangsu and other provinces who are doing well go there, nothing will happen. Hong Kong, before Xi Jinping, Hong Kong was the number one province, and you destroyed it from 2019 onwards. You destroyed it completely. There's nothing left in Hong Kong. Macau, in any case, was a gambling station. It didn't offer
that was no.
much.
वो तो
casinos and others. But increase in defense tells that, and internal security continued tells you that he is worried. Jobs and consumption, well, increasing internal consumption has been part of their charter since 2002 when Hu Jintao took over, and they're still struggling with it. So good luck to them of what they do.
Yeah, no,
the only worry is more as the internal problems take place, they would prefer to externalize. If he's going the Mao way, Mao used to do this. So we should be prepared for that, that if the going becomes tough, then he would like to finger you somewhere or the other.
Yeah, and I'd like to just substantiate what he says. If you see the Chinese PLA Navy, its actions in the past, say, 15-20 days, you see they've carried out firing in the Tasman Sea in Australia. Today, there's news that that group of warships have circumnavigated Australia. Right. Next, they've carried out firing in the Gulf of Tonkin. Okay, to 𝗥𝗙𝗏𝗏 or 𝗥𝗙𝗙𝗏𝗏, Vietnam. They've done an exercise against Taiwan. All this in the past 2 weeks. Then they've carried out a couple of their carrier exercises in the 𝗏𝗏 and the 𝗏𝗏. And they're very active everywhere. And they're interestingly, their fishing fleets are active all over, even as far as the North Arabian Sea is concerned. And as of now, there is one of their surveillance ships somewhere hanging around in the Bay of Bengal. So this dichotomy which General Rajiv Narayanan was mentioning, that as China becomes internally weak, and it is weakening, there's no doubt about it, they will now attempt externalization. At this point of time, they're not moving anywhere towards us, but they're very active in the Western Pacific, probably with the idea that, look, Trump is busy with Ukraine war, he's busy with Gaza, and he will not have enough focus here. And maybe to some extent they've succeeded in it also, that focus. But when this will reverse is a million-dollar question. I'd like your views on this aspect, Rajiv.
So they would have also factored in the point that Hegseth mentioned Taiwan to increase the defense spending to 10%.
10%.
And not depend only on US boots. Now that would be worrisome to Taiwan, and that would be worrisome to Japan and South Korea also. On one breath, Trump talks about rebalancing and shifting boots from Europe to Western Pacific. And on the other side, his Secretary of Defense is talking of Taiwan to increase the defense spending by 10%. So at the moment, he is not troubling you, but will it stay that way?
That's
not
the question.
Troubling you continentally, I would say continentally. But if he has his illegal fishing going on in the North Indian Ocean, he has his survey ships roaming around in the Bay of Bengal, in the maritime domain, it still becomes a question of concern for us. And what is he planning to do? So the only arm at present, which he's depending on more and more, seems to be the Navy. And I wonder if he's putting his Western theater troops into high altitude training, because one of the reasons, I'm not saying that was the only reason, one of the reasons was the increasing loss of troops due to high altitude sickness. Not used to it. One doesn't hear about it. You don't read about it. One doesn't hear. And OSINT has also not indicated anything of this going on. So,
but we can't be complacent.
Yeah, we can't be 100%. OSINT has not shown. We have no reports. And we should be looking at our own capability to assess it, because the West will be looking more towards the Western Pacific.
Yeah. Yeah, now let's have a little talk about, his defense expenditure at 7.2% consistently year on year. And whereas we have almost stagnated in our expenditure.
Yes.
How do you view this?
Well, it should be a matter of concern, but I'm surprised that our people are not looking at increasing the defense spending, and projects which are in the pipeline are dragging and dragging and dragging. Look at your MMRCA, which is carrying on for so long. Look at your submarine deals, which are carrying on for so long. You cannot have such strategic platforms being delayed for so long, and glibly saying that for defense we'll give money, but that is not visible. It has always been a case in this. I have been fighting earlier also that you should shift to become two, three things you need to do. You should not be in Appendix A. You should be in Appendix A. Appendix A means that those are the priority areas as far as the government is concerned. If you're in Appendix B, then you are that much behind in priority. You cannot have economic growth without security. And by security, which means Army, Navy, Air Force, your paramilitary, your police, it means everybody. So unless they are made capable and skilled to give you that secure environment, you will not achieve the growth that you want to. And that is what is lacking. So what do? They keep your revenue lower than what you want, and they will give you your capital. And then now I'm sure they would have already started working out how much and by when they would need the revenue. And around October, November, they all start screaming for more revenue. They will stall your whatever goes to the CCS gets delayed. And quietly in the parliament around December, January, they will clear that much what you're asking for revenue, all the three services. They'll convert the capital to revenue and give it to you. And the rest of it goes to back to the consolidated fund of India to be used wherever for political gains. Across political parties, this is what has been going on.
Yeah, and then they'll tell, then they'll tell that the armed forces can't spend the money.
Can't spend them. See, whatever is within the powers up to the vice chief and chief is spent. To a certain extent, what is in the powers of the defense minister also gets spent. To a certain extent, what is in the powers of the finance minister gets spent. Not all. What goes to the CCS, just forget it. It's a political decision. Sometimes you don't get to spend even what is in the powers of the finance minister. They will keep sending it back with a 𝗏𝗏 observation, and by the time you keep processing up and down, the time is over. And then they will say, no, we are coming to a financial year closing. We'll look at it next year, maybe April, May, and you know that you will never get your turn. So that is a certain thing. What I have always asked is that the RBI should make a consolidated fund for defense of India. And what is not spent in the capital goes into that. Why do I say so? A lot of platforms that you buy, it doesn't come overnight to you. The same financial year, it doesn't come. It carries on over 3, 4, 5 years. So once you have signed the contract, the payments are also given like yearly, like you pay your EMI. It's called committed liability. Today, the committed liability is 50% of your capital, what has been given to the capital. Now, the moment you start making this consolidated defense fund, maybe in 4 or 5 years, you will find that a sizable chunk of your committed liability can go from there. Now, the other drawback of Make in India, where while we may point a finger a lot at our PSUs, when a committed liability has to be stopped and carried over to the next year, it is the PSU which takes the hit. You cannot do it to a foreign firm. Will they do it to the private firm? I wonder. So these are certain issues which impact your capability building and modernization. And by the 4th or 5th year, automatically you got to redo your QRs because new technologies have come in. And then comes the famous statement which is leaked out from the MOD to the press that the military can't make up its mind what they want. So
Yeah,
this is the
I think one of these days we'll have a discussion on the pitfalls of defense procurement and why we are stagnating at this. But
when we look at defense procurements, forget the bigger platforms and other things. When you look at small arms, artillery, helicopter, most of it is available for the PMF also. They don't have this kind of DPP.
problems.
They don't have this kind of DPP which takes you, if everything goes well, it takes you 3 years to get it, and everything doesn't go well, so you go down to 5-6 years. They have one lead force for a particular thing. They sit down and work it out, go there, test it out, and then say that yes, we are buying this and it is bought. So for the same set, like vehicles you have, small arms you have, artillery pieces you have, helicopters from HAL you have one set of procurement procedure for the MHA, and you have a totally different process for the military, which fine, you wanting to do it for ships and aircraft, fighters and all is tanks. Okay, the MHA doesn't have, but what the MHA has, the same set of or the same type of equipment for the defense forces, you should follow the same procedure.
Yeah, I go with you. Okay, getting back to China. China is putting a lot of emphasis on the tech sector, AI and DeepSeek and etc. And this, and that is visible in this 2 sessions also.
Yes.
There is also a view that the tech sector won't solve their problems, fiscal problems. Neither are the ROIs out of the tech sector going to come in, visibly. Okay, because there are not enough people who are going to buy this stuff, buy Chinese AI, right? So what about your views on this? Where do you think China is headed? Because we all know Xi Jinping has put a lot of effort on new productive forces and technology and all that.
So the whole problem, like you rightly pointed out and hit the nail on the head, who will buy these products? Why will they buy these products? And if you don't buy these products, you don't get returns on investment, and it goes down that infrastructure to nowhere. So high tech to nowhere. So if he limits it to his own market and a few markets that he can squeeze out, but even the markets that he can squeeze out don't have the money to give him a return on investment. So it is a catch-22 situation that he is on. That's why I said that this doesn't make you comfortable with its macroeconomics. Micro, he'll keep printing his yuan and give it to the people and say, okay, be happy. Micro, by spending huge amount of money, which is not going to generate any return on investment, but for that period, he may drag it on, like I'd given about a particular city, Nanhui new city, where he dragged that construction from 2003 to 2020. So that way you drag on these and start giving money to those people, what you squeezed out from the money kept by the common people in the bank, and then feel happy that I have generated jobs. But at the end of the day, people are poorer because their money has gone out. At the end of the day, China is poorer. There's no return on investment. So it is the policies that Xi Jinping took, the aggressive policies, that have made people cautious about doing anything or going by anything to do with China. He's making it cheap, the app also for DeepSeek, to be able to get back data, whole lot of data from anyone who's foolish enough to download that app. I wonder how many would have downloaded that app. So anything Chinese today now people, जैसे वो हिंदी में कहते हैं ना सर, दूध का जला छाछ को भी फूंक के पीता है. So that is where China under Xi Jinping is today. So, and they have not changed tack. That is my issue. They have not changed tack. So you don't change tack. If wind is blowing in an opposite direction, you have not changed tack. Your ship is going nowhere.
Yeah, that's the point which I wanted to discuss a bit finally. Where is China headed? They're not changing tack. Something else is happening in the world. Trump has come and he's blowing the direction is somewhere else. China has lost its international position in the Middle East. Ukraine-Russia war, it has got no leg to stand on. Increasingly, it is at the risk of losing its other partners also, like North Korea. North Korea also has already almost gone off. And right, internally, it is at a problem. This 2 sessions doesn't inspire anything. Incidentally, today I heard an analysis of the 2 sessions. They say that the stimulus which is likely to be given through these 2 sessions is also suboptimal, because they don't know whether to give the stimulus or not, and because they don't know what Trump will do tomorrow. So if they give the stimulus and Trump does the opposite, the stimulus is gone. If Trump does something and the stimulus goes too late, the stimulus is wasted. So they are in a catch-22 situation. Yeah. Sorry.
My only concern is one thing. Why are you going down the bond? If you say that you have $3 trillion in foreign reserves, at least some of the foreign reserve, take it out and add the stimulus that you're saying. There is no word about it. Are we sure that he has $3 trillion? Which he keeps yelping about, that I have this reserve. If you have the reserve, why not? I'm not saying you take out 3 trillion. I'm not saying you take out 1 trillion. It is $0.5 trillion you put it in. 2.5 trillion is also quite a sizable foreign exchange. But I don't hear of any stimulus that he is going to give. The stimulus he is talking about is long-term bonds.
See, I'm glad you brought this out. The point is, the stimulus is almost a fake. It is the end product of the stimulus is China still going down. There'll be a dead cat bounce of some amount of stock market will go up. And if you analyze the Chinese stock markets over a period of time, people who have invested in stocks have lost. People who have invested in property have lost. People who have invested in bonds have lost. So where do people go? People are becoming poorer. On the other hand, China, through its macroeconomic policies and its whatever it is doing, is becoming a rich state with a lot of disposable cash, which it is putting into technology, and it is putting into military. So that makes an unstable state overall and a dangerous state.
Yes.
Your views on that, then we'll ask questions.
So whatever money he would be earning at present, they control almost about 70% of the ports through which the international maritime trade route functions. Means either they own it or they have controlling stakes out there. And the other is the containers. About 70 to 80% of the global containers which are used for trade is from them. And it is this money, instead of using it intelligently in macroeconomics to improve the lot of the people, he is funding it to high tech where ROI is not there. He is funding it into his PLA and internal security architecture where ROI is not there. So he's just splurging that money there. And of course, while he may talk of anti-corruption, I'm sure he and his cronies have a whole lot of money stashed away all over the world. Because after all, he has more than $1 billion in investment in USA. His daughter is there in USA. So it is a sad lot for the people, because like I always said, that this 2 sessions is more of yesteryears. It doesn't seem that it is going to give any confidence to the common man, because he will also have the same question that if he squeezes me out of the money, then what happens? There were already reports that a whole lot of people who couldn't afford a lot have just jumped across the sea and gone into South Korea and Japan. And they're being welcomed there because culturally they are generally the same. And so they're being welcomed there.
Yeah, fine.
If people are running away there.
Yeah.
So Bailan will be in full force.
Well. Yeah, this is a point which I thought before I wind up for the day, there's a point for everyone to take home. 2 years back, when I did a session on, when I did a program on 2 sessions, a lot of interest was there. A lot of people wanted me to explain why did I analyze China the way it was then. Today, hardly anyone, it's caught anyone's imagination. No one is analyzing it, but we in India have to analyze it to see where China is going. We have a sacred duty to do that, and that's what both of us are doing. It's not the most popular subject. The more popular subject is Trump doing what he wants to do with Zelensky.
The Trumponomics.
Trumponomics. Right. So, but we are doing it because ultimately we have to tackle China. Yeah, with this, I thought I'll put this across. The Chinese will never consume domestically, the domestic consumption will never go up. If you see the history of China and its economy for the past 20, 30 years, the Chinese economists have been trying to ensure or trying to promote consumerism in China. It's not happened. So if you think it's going to happen now, forget about it. All analysis suggests that it's going to be suboptimal for the next 5 to 10 years. Okay, you don't believe both of us? Go to X and search for Michael Pettis and read his comments. Today he has given something about he commented on the consumerism or the lack of China's ability to consume its way out of its problems. And he explains why China can't consume, why China will not give money to the people to consume. You must understand a fundamental thing. The moment Chinese people start consuming and the production becomes more than, make everyone consume happiness like USA, they will demand democracy. The moment they demand democracy, CCP is on its way out. CCP will never allow the Chinese to consume. Nor will they allow Chinese to become rich. Only those fellows who serve the party will be allowed to become rich. Please understand, China doesn't have a problem, societal problem. It has got a major internal domestic political problem. The CCP will never allow China to become what it can become. And to that extent, I feel that Xi Jinping and the CCP are our friends.
Like we have mentioned in one of our things, that Xi Jinping is the Imran Khan of China.
Imran Khan of China, what he has done to China, and look, this point, what General Narayanan is saying now, is not new. We said this 2 years back. We've been saying he is the Imran Khan of China who's going to kill China, right? We spoke 2 years back of the slow collapse of China, and it is happening in front of us. Okay, so anything else, Rajiv? Otherwise, we'll pack up for the day.
That's about all.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Rajiv, for joining us and explaining about the 2 sessions and where China is headed. Personally speaking, I've always said, ever since I can remember in the recent past 5-6 years, China is only headed one way. It is going down. It's going down slow. There will come a point by the end of this decade when the demographic collapse will become prominent. And from then on, China will be an unstable state. Mark this words. We will discuss this in 2030. With this, I'd like to thank everyone for attending. Have a great day, good evening, and Jai Hind to all of you.